As an SEC homer, this is going to be a rough weekend for Uncle Lou. I know not everybody feels the same way, SEC fans, and then most people in other conferences just have no clue. But I am an SEC homer, and that generally speaking, I want the SEC to win in non-con games. There's been a few exceptions, but generally speaking, I do like when the SEC wins in non-con games, and this one ain't gonna go Uncle Lou's way. Florida's gonna get destroyed in this game by Florida State. That's just my opinion. Florida State's double-digit favorite, and I just don't really see how this game is gonna be close. Florida State has looked like the better team all year long, going all the way back to week one when they beat LSU. I know Florida had the win in week one against Utah, but that was really the highlight of their season. Losses to Kentucky, Tennessee, LSU. The loss last week to Vandy's just unacceptable. There's just no excuse for it. Anthony Richardson really has not progressed at all during his time at Florida, and that's under two different head coaches and two different offensive coordinators. So turns out, I know this is hard for some people to believe, he might just not be any good. You know who is good? Florida State quarterback is Jordan Travis. He's played so much better than Anthony Richardson this year, and Florida State has looked pretty good. And they appear to be playing their best football right now. I think Florida State right now is one of the best 15 teams in the country. Notre Dame's probably in that category too. You know, it is possible for teams to get better as the year goes along. I'm not saying Florida State should be ranked in the top 10. I know, look, losing matters, whether you lose in the beginning of the season or the end. I'm not arguing where any of these teams should be ranked. I'm just saying I don't know if there's 15 teams in the country playing better football right now than Florida State. Florida's dominated this rivalry recently. I don't see it continuing. I really don't. Florida State has had patience with Norvell. Now, I know there was some rough years, and, not every single fan was happy with what they saw from Norvell over the last few years, but patience has paid off. Florida State is in a position now where they appear to be a pretty good team in the world of college football. Florida is not. And I don't know if they're going to have any patience with Billy Napier, and I don't know if it will matter. I'm on record. I don't think Billy Napier is going to work out at Florida. People can type in the comment section until they're blue in the face about what Kirby Smart did in his first year at Georgia. Let me tell you something right now. Anybody that compares Billy Napier to Kirby Smart is an absolute moron. Kirby Smart is at worst, and I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt here, at worst, the third best coach in college football today. That's worst case scenario. You can make arguments that he's the best coach in football today, or the second best. He's a top 3 coach in football today. To try to make excuses for the way Billy Napier has performed based on what Kirby Smart did 6 years ago is absolutely insane. Never mind the fact that was Kirby Smart's first year ever as a head coach. Billy Napier has been a head coach. This ain't his first rodeo as head coach. He doesn't know what he's doing, and he's in over his head. And as bad as Mullen and McElwain and Muschamp were, they somehow managed to beat Florida State. Not happening for your boy Sunbelt Billy. I think Florida goes down tomorrow, Friday. Big. Huge, even. I am going to be streaming the game. I'm streaming the Egg Bowl tonight, so if you guys are going to be watching the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, could be Lane Kiffin's last game. I'm going to be streaming that tonight, and then tomorrow I'm going to stream the Florida State game tomorrow night. I think it comes on at 7 or 7:30, something like that. I'm also streaming the USA versus England World Cup game tomorrow, but every time I even mention the World Cup, people cry in the comments. So look, I tell you, it's just like when people complain about crappy bowl games. You don't have to watch them. You don't like all these crappy bowl games? Don't watch them. If you don't like the World Cup, don't come hang out and watch the USA and England yesterday or tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I'm going to stream USA versus England World Cup game on this channel tomorrow at 2. Cry about it. If you don't want to watch, don't watch. I'll see you at 7 for Florida and Florida State. But back to the football game. Anthony Richardson just hasn't worked out. Rumors that he may either go to the NFL or possibly even transfer away. I don't know what the hell he's going to do. As a Georgia fan, I hope he stays at Florida. The guy's no good. It's just painfully obvious at this point. Florida's got all kinds of injury situations and issues going on at the wide receiver position heading into this game. And the problem is, even with those wide receivers healthy, you don't have anybody to get them the ball. And outside of Ricky Pearsall, a leftover that you got from Arizona State out of the transfer portal, you don't have anybody at wide receiver anyway. I do like your freshman running back ETN, but again, one decent offensive player does not a good team make. So, you're kicking players off the team over the last month. It's just a mess in Gainesville. And I'm not surprised because Coach Gunner doesn't know what he's doing. And again, I don't care. You get mad all you want. I was wrong. I thought Billy Napier might work at Florida when they hired him. I thought he might be just what they needed. But it just turns out I was wrong. Look, I'm not right all the time. When y'all hired Billy Napier, I thought maybe it was a good hire. I was wrong. He doesn't know what he's doing. The only thing Florida fans need to concern themselves right now is hanging on to this recruiting class for the next 2 weeks. That's it. 3 weeks, whatever it is. Or early signing day coming up in mid-December. You have a decent recruiting class. Put together 4 or 5 of those in a row and you might have a decent team. I don't know. I have to wait 4 or 5 years down the road to see, but I'm not. I just don't think Billy Napier's the answer. I think y'all are going to get humiliated tomorrow night by Florida State and the Florida State Seminoles. Their patience has paid off. They went out and hired a good coach, gave him time to rebuild a program that was in shambles. And it's worked out, at least for this year. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't start talking about next year until the offseason. Florida State's going to have a good team again next year. This isn't going to be like a flash in the pan, one-hit wonder type of deal where Florida State has a decent team and then they go back to being in the toilet, which is what probably going to happen to Tennessee. It's not going to happen to Florida State. And Florida, Florida first game next year at Utah. You already know. Yeah. Anyway, Florida's going to lose this game. It's that simple. It doesn't make me all that happy. Like I'm saying, as an SEC homer, I root for Florida over Florida State. I root for South Carolina over Clemson. Those are two giant L's. I haven't talked about the Clemson-South Carolina game, but what about South Carolina last week against Tennessee? Well, yeah, if Clemson leaves now, goes to Knoxville, picks up the Tennessee defense, brings it back to Clemson, South Carolina for their game on Saturday, then South Carolina will have a chance. But they're not doing that, so therefore South Carolina doesn't have a chance. Yeah, Spencer Rattler played good against Tennessee. Okay, I've seen Spencer Rattler play 11 games this year. He's played good in one of them. The same team that every other quarter. Anthony Richardson's a disaster. He looked like a Heisman winner against Tennessee. The same thing is true for Spencer Rattler. He's not going to be able to move the ball on Clemson defense. Clemson's going to win that game. Plus, it's in Clemson. Clemson hasn't lost a home game in like 6 years. They're not losing to this South Carolina team. It's just not happening. South Carolina finished the season 7-5. Here's what it is. Florida State finishing their regular season, or Florida Gators, rather, finishing their regular season tomorrow with a game against Florida State in a giant fucking L. Happy Thanksgiving.